Hi day traders. The data on US economic growth gave hope that the Federal Reserve would continue tightening monetary policy. Such a possibility increased demand for the US dollar. However, on Friday, the US unveiled a report according to which price growth is likely to slacken in the near future. This means that the Fed will have no reason to raise the key rate. Against the backdrop, the US dollar showed a correction. The US dollar index, which measures the greenback against a basket of 6 major currencies, closed the week with a rise of 0.6%. In addition, before the weekend, most traders closed their long positions on the US dollar. Meanwhile, the euro returned to its lowest level in the last three weeks. During the last 5 trading days, the single currency lost over 1% amid the comments provided by the President of the European Central Bank. Christine Lagarde said that when taking decisions on the key rate, the regulator would rely on GDP growth and labor market conditions instead of inflation figures. Judging by the recent macroeconomic reports, investors considered this statement to be dovish. It is obvious that the ECB will take a pause in the cycle of monetary policy tightening, thus pushing the euro lower. Curiously, the British pound, which usually follows the euro, managed to keep its position against the US dollar. In other words, traders closed the week at the levels that were seen on Monday. What's more, the UK published weaker than expected data on business activity and announced a decline in inflationary pressure. Investors suppose that the Bank of England may now switch to a less aggressive stance. In other words, the Bank of England may raise their key rate by 25 basis points at the meeting in August. That's why by November, the key rate will be at the level of 5.75%, which is lower than expected earlier. At the same time, the Bank of Japan remains stuck to its ultra-loose policy. The central bank is keeping its benchmark rate at minus 0.10%, ignoring the IMF's call for revising the approach. Notably, the Bank of Japan has made concessions. The control over the yield curve of 10-year government bonds, assuming a movement from 0 by 0.5% in any direction, is not considered a hard limit anymore. Now it is just a recommendation. It's the first surprising step taken by the Bank of Japan since Kazuo Ueda became its governor. Now there are even more expectations of monetary policy stabilization, which are supporting the Japanese yen. The gold price is usually shaped by traders' attitude to the US dollar. However, news about changes in the ECB's rhetoric is supporting price growth. A possible pause in the cycle of the key rate hike is a sign of higher gold prices. This is how the precious metal managed to close the previous week with an upward impulse near $1,960 per troy ounce, manifesting just insignificant losses. Traders of oil made the biggest profits last week. Oil prices were climbing amid expectations of higher energy consumption. The fact is that Chinese authorities dropped a hint about their intention to stimulate economic growth in the country. Data on the economic growth in the US, one of the largest global economies, also encouraged traders. In this slide, the BRENT benchmark closed the week with a jump above $84 per barrel. These are the trends of the last trading week. Do not miss our daily news reports to be always in touch with the latest events. See you!